about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. 1-877-DOC-DALI. So there's this term called sleep maxing. And some of them, the things people do to try to max their sleep, kind of are pretty, I do some of these things. But some can be harmful, such as taping your mouth shut, forcing you to only sleep through your nose. These are things that could be dangerous. So sleep maxing is a term that is kind of overtaking the term sleep hygiene. We doctors will say, how is your sleep hygiene? Like, well, I don't scrub my sleep, right? Or use toilet paper or deodorant on my sleep. But it's what do you do to ensure you have a good night's sleep? And so some of these strategies, and this is being reported by Time Magazine, may include taking melatonin supplements or taking magnesium. You got to be really careful. If you don't want to overdose on magnesium, but magnesium has been shown, especially in people who are deficient in it, to help them sleep. So I wouldn't just take magnesium without your doctor checking your levels. But yes, magnesium is known to help improve one's sleep. Melatonin, again, you need to be careful of. Melatonin there's a supplement that tries to help your melatonin hormone that is already a very delicate balance through the whole circadian rhythm and using daylight versus nighttime to rise and fall. Melatonin can help people sleep, but I wouldn't be taking melatonin on a regular basis. But these are some of the things people are doing. Now, one thing I do, and I suggest to people, is avoiding liquids for 2 hours before going to bed. Now, I don't want you to be dehydrated, but my doctor told me, because I was starting to get some acid reflux, and I don't eat spicy food. I don't eat a lot of fatty food. I don't eat big meals. So he found out that it could be because I'm drinking water before I go to bed. So he told me to stop drinking water before I went to bed, and that minimized some of my acid reflux. So some people will avoid liquids a couple hours before bed. They might do that also so they aren't getting up to pee. Some might use a white noise machine or a fan. We do that. We do that because my dog snores and grunts and makes noise. And so my husband has a fan on to kind of drown out the noise. And then the cats are up at night, so it kind of drowns that sound out. So I think noise machines could help. I do not recommend mouth taping. Mouth taping is what a lot of people do to try to breathe through their nose, filter their air. Some people feel that if they do get a little hypoxic, it helps them fall asleep. I would not be impeding any of your orifices to get air to the brain. We already have a huge epidemic of people not getting enough oxygen to the brain. Do not tape your mouth. A lot of people do that to help themselves sleep. Not good. Eating a kiwi before going to sleep. Kiwis are great sources of vitamin C, citrus. The problem is that could cause reflux issues. But some people, they say their kiwi helps them. Using a weighted blanket or a cooling pillow. Now, what I do is my pillows are cool. They're just of a material. I didn't buy any special pillows. And then I bought a down comforter, which can keep me warm in the winter, but it also is cool. And it's not like a thick blanket or a thick comforter. So I do that. I also lower the bedroom temperature. I lower it to about 68 degrees. That seems to really help. If I feel a little cold, I'm able to go to sleep. Now, if I'm freezing, no, it doesn't work. But if I'm just a little on the cold side, it's difficult. I live in Southern Nevada. So when the summertime comes, you're hot, you're sweaty, and then your air conditioning is pounding away. But like where it is right now, sometimes I sleep with the window open. or I like to feel a little cold. I don't wear a lot of clothes necessarily. Some people are in, full on pajamas. I don't do that. I wear like a top and some my husband's boxer briefs. And then I'm not in too much clothes and it doesn't feel too hot. But definitely being a little on the cooler side. If I feel I'm too cold, what I also do is I take a hot shower before I go to bed. And that's another thing a lot of people do. They'll shower before they go to bed. Some of us use showers to wake ourselves up in the morning. I do that. I showered in the morning and then I shower before I go to bed. Not because I'm trying to be clean, but the hot water helps relax my muscles and then I could fall asleep better. So I do that. Some people like to wear sleep masks. Sleep masks to kind of make things darker. I don't do well with things on my face. So I can't do that. I can't have a sleep mask. But for a lot of people, that's exactly what they need. And go for it. That I don't mind. That won't hurt your health. Some people meditate before they go to bed. Now, I love the idea of meditation because what a lot of us do when we go to bed is we think back to a show we just watched. I think there was a Quentin Tarantino movie, so that didn't help me sleep. You think back to how your day went. That'll start to get you all riled up. But if you meditate, and depending on what you focus on when you meditate, that could really slow your breathing down. Help slow down the brain waves. And so that could be really, really good. Now, some people to sleep max will not set an alarm clock. Now, I don't know how you do that if you have a job. Okay, I have to set my alarm. It's just something I need to do. But for some people, if it doesn't matter when they wake up, they don't set the alarm clock. Now, that's actually a brilliant move because of the stress people have. I got to wake up at 6. I have to wake up at 6. Okay, if I fall asleep right now, I'll still get a good 6 hours. Okay, all right, I haven't slept, but if I fall asleep right now, I might get a good 5 hours and 15 minutes. So you start to panic about that. So for those people who don't necessarily have to have an alarm clock wake them up. Again, I'm not sure where you're working, but that might help. Wearing a sleep tracker. Some people like this, where they like to monitor their sleep, etc. We're coming up on break, but sleep maxing, be very, very careful. We do not want you covering up your mouth. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now to answer your questions for free. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell our listeners who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me join you to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now and find out how much your case is potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. If you think you deserve compensation, call now to find out how much you qualify for. 800-710-5100.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hotshot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Hotshot Secret Stiction Eliminator.
Stiction, that sticky friction, undermines the performance of diesel engines. Third-party ASTM testing verifies that Stiction Eliminator removes 2 times as much stiction than any alternative on the retail shelf. Stiction Eliminator is formulated to be left in the engine oil. It works as you drive.
Available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at HotShotSecret.com. Hotshot Secret. Powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Now, don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
right. We are back on Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer. And big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. So we're being told that an English-speaking tourist, I think they were British. I don't know if they were American, but I think they were British, stopped the knife man who was stabbing people in Amsterdam earlier this week. The knife man was able to stab 5 people, and a tourist was able to take him down. He pinned him down, restrained him, and stopped any further assaults. He remained on his back. The suspect, arm held back. It looked like he might have even been able to zip tie him. Head on the ground to the side, while the hero restrained him with a knee on his back and a knee on his leg, almost sitting on him. And this happened near the historic Dam Central Square. 5 were injured, including 2 Americans. If you've ever been to Amsterdam, it is absolutely amazing. The people there are so nice. There's canals everywhere, bicycles. The biggest danger in Amsterdam is getting run over by a bike. Beautiful buildings, beautiful pubs. The red light district was fascinating. Very interesting things. The city did not smell of marijuana, even though marijuana is legal. It's not like, many of the American cities where people are smoking it outside. There's still rules. So it was interesting how it didn't smell of marijuana. But unfortunately, somebody was using a knife of at least 10 centimeters sticking out. And he stabbed a girl's back between her shoulders. And we don't know why. We don't know who the suspect is. So we don't know the motive. But the attacker was overwhelmed by bystanders before the officers could arrive on the scene. He has been arrested and taken into hospital with a leg injury. The man who tackled him, we believe, is British. But we aren't exactly sure who he's from, but he is not a so he might have been a tourist. But it looked like he had some training, and he was able to subdue the suspect. Pretty impressive. Thank God more people weren't hurt, but unfortunately, there are people out there that just want to do, want to unfortunately do as much damage as possible. The 5 victims were a 67-year-old and 69-year-old American couple, a 26-year-old Polish man who has been discharged from the hospital, a 73-year-old woman from Belgium, and a 19-year-old woman from Amsterdam. So we'll keep you posted if we get any new information. But, thank God for innocent bystanders. The Penny case and trial from the New York subway incident, it really kind of rattled people's Good Samaritan, impulses to stop somebody who could be a threat because they didn't want to, unfortunately, be at risk for murder if somebody ended up dying as a result of the subduing and the restraining. And so, we always tell people, don't be a hero, just wait for police. Well, for those of us who have ever been in these situations, there's a response time that the police have to, and sometimes all you can do is jump in and save others. And this gentleman is a hero. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So breaking news today was Representative Elise Stefanik, who was going to be U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, being nominated by President Trump, has had to bow out at the request of the president. She said, I have been proud to be a team player. The president knows that. He said he and I had multiple conversations today, and we are committed to delivering results on behalf of the American people. And as always, I'm committed to delivering results on behalf of my constituents, she said to Sean Hannity yesterday. Probably the reason was to protect her House seat. She's from New York. New York usually doesn't go to Republicans. And so to lose any more House seats with a razor-thin majority, many people, looked at a lot of the nominations that Trump made were good nominations. But what happens? How do you fill that vacancy? Now, elevating Secretary of State Marco Rubio, not a problem in Florida. Not a problem, especially since Governor DeSantis was able to elevate a former attorney general who was Republican into that seat. But with Congress and special elections, that, for representatives, that's very tricky. So Stefanik said the decision came to a culmination after considering a combination of factors since the New York lawmakers' initial nomination. And Trump had detailed this decision on Truth Social, saying, as we advance our America First agenda, it is essential that we maintain every Republican seat in Congress. We must be unified to accomplish our mission. And Elise Stefanik has been a vital part of our efforts from the very beginning. He says, I've asked Elise, as one of my biggest allies, to remain in Congress to help me deliver historic tax cuts, great jobs, record economic growth, a secure border, energy dominance, peace through strength, and much more so we can make America great again. He said, with a very tight majority, I don't want to take a chance on anyone else running for Elise's seat. The people love Elise, and with her, we have nothing to worry about come Election Day. There are others that could do a good job at the United Nations. And he's right. Elevating her, and, listen, did she take one for the team, or, did she put up a fight? She does a good job for New York. She does a good job in Congress. A lot of people were concerned, how many more seats can Republicans lose, especially since it looked like Republicans were going to be winning a couple more California seats. But by the time December rolled around and the ballot counting came, they flipped back to Democrat, even though Republicans were leading for weeks after the election in those. So there's, it's tricky. And so I agree with this move. There are a lot of individuals who could represent. I think Elise Stefanik is fantastic. I love her pro-Israel stance. But, it's if the Republicans want to get things done. The one thing we learned with the 2016 election or the 2016 term is once, Trump lost the midterm, or the Republicans lost the midterms, much of what Trump wanted to do didn't get done. And so Trump has a very, very unique opportunity with this trifecta, they call it. And so for him to get what he wants to get done, cannot necessarily be, shall we say, jeopardized, according to him, by having somebody else run in her seat. Not to mention the money that is now going to be pouring into a whole nother election. These special elections, millions upon millions of dollars. It just blows my mind what we spend. And I know a lot of people are against how I feel about, there should be spending caps on elections, because there's jobs and media benefits from it and all that. But honestly, those billions upon billions of dollars spent during election years, where that money could go to? There's just so many other things. And it shows, boy, people have money to spend, Trump and his wife, also in political news, Trump and J.D. Vance and his wife have made it to Greenland. They are meeting with American troops at a military base, and Usha and Vance are now at the Pitufik Space Base in northwest Greenland. I've never been to Greenland. I've flown over it. It's exquisite. It's a lot of land, a lot of territory. As he disembarked Air Force Two, there were cameras, and from what I understand, he didn't really do much of a presser. But there has been a lot of, shall we say now, controversy of America taking over Greenland, and so people are worried about their protection. I think Vance and Usha were accompanied by National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. He did, by the way, admit full responsibility for accidentally adding that journalist, Jeffrey Goldberg, from The Atlantic onto that group chat. We spoke about this yesterday. People are saying he needs to be fired, off with their heads. Oh, come on, people. Okay, it was a mistake. They owned up to it. The mission was still a success. If Mike Waltz has a history of making multiple errors that involve half-assedly not looking at everybody involved in an email chain, etc., then, there's a pattern. He should be removed. But if this was a one-off and we aren't exactly sure how it happened and he does a good job, I don't see the need to fire. It was a screw-up, but the screw-up did not involve loss of lives like Afghanistan. It did not involve anybody getting hurt. The mission. Now, if that journalist decided to that day broadcast it all over the news, yes, that could have then been very painful. And luckily, the journalist kept his mouth shut. I mean, he should have actually alerted them right then and there saying, hey, guys, I don't think I should be here on this chat. But he waited until after the mission to then get his fame and publish it all. 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Doc Dolly, 1-877 DOCDALI. So last week we had talked about one of our listeners' children, was not interested in working, staying home, didn't have a job, wasn't going to school, and so that spawned a lot of other comments I've gotten. And for those of you who are helping your kids, or your kids are relying on you, whether they're Gen Z, millennials. You're not alone. In fact, there was a report that came out saying a good number of parents are still supporting their Gen Z and millennial kids. Now, millennials were born, so baby boomers were born roughly 45 to 65, although a lot of individuals born before 1945 still believe they're baby boomers. I agree with that because, Pa came home from leave and, mom got pregnant. So as far as I'm concerned, baby boomer up to age, year 65. Those of us who are Gen X were born between 1965 and 1980. Those born between 80 and 95 are millennials. Those born between 1995 and 2010 are Gen Zs. Those born between 2010 and 2025 are Gen A's, Generation Alphas. And then now we are starting to see the first of the Generation Betas. So millennials could be in their 30s, right? If they were born from 1980 to, in fact, some millennials could be 45 years old. So I know this kind of was a shock where they say amid the cost of rising of, cost of living and student debt and wages, there are many more parents that are helping their Gen Zs and millennials. In fact, in one survey of 1,000 parents of U.S. adult children, this was conducted by Savings.com. They said parents were doling out an average of $1,474 a month, about $1,800 for Gen Zers and $900 for millennials every month. Now, I'm not shocked by that number. I think it's because we've been seeing it for years, and the statistic of 50% of parents are financially assisting their adult children to keep them afloat. I'm not surprised. Now, in my family, everybody was poor. So each child was financially stronger than the generation prior. My grandparents had to take care of their grandparents. My parents had to take care of their parents. So when I was growing up there, it was, you're going to have to take care of us. You're going to have to take care of us. And I was lucky enough to be the first person to graduate college in my family. And so I was like, well, then it's my duty. And I did. I still financially help support the family members who need it. But things changed. After Gen X, millennials and Gen Zs are the first generations where they might not be financially better than their baby boomer or Gen X parents. And that's a shame. Okay, we want people to do better because already trying to retire and pay for eggs and all the other issues and rent and our crappy Social Security amounts that are, $2,000 or $8,000. One of my family members gets $1,800 and then about $166, I think, gets taken away from Medicare. So they're trying to live on $1,600 a month. So, to think that our kids are going to be in a worse position than us, that's pretty scary. So if any baby boomers or Gen Xs are helping their millennials and Gen Zs, I would be slow to criticize. Now, it depends on what that millennial and Gen Z is doing. If that millennial is trying to work, if that Gen Z is trying to work, if they're making good choices and not bad choices, if they are trying to, build a business and advance and progress, but if they're not, if they're smoking dope and just kind of staying home and just, then no, you need to teach them how to get out there, get some skin in the game, learn how to support themselves. One thing we used to say is, well, how are you going to support a wife and kids? Well, if the average Gen Z is like, but I don't want to get married and I don't want to have kids. You got to come up with another incentive. Well, how are you going to pay for your phone? Oh, how are you going to pay for your gas in your car? Oh, I didn't think about that. Okay, so remember, they think a little differently. I know, I've had conversations with my kids. But if your child is spending $2,000 a month in rent, can't own a home, because the mortgage is too ridiculous, has student debt, is having trouble finding a job because every time they apply on Zip Recruiter or LinkedIn or Indeed, they get a rejection email within hours, they're going to need some help. And if you're in a position to help them. But one of my friends who's concerned about his adult children is saying, I got to come up with an idea where we have a business for them. Now, that's not really easy to do, because if you try to set up a business for your kids to take over and they don't work together, or somebody, is a slacker, they're all expecting older, sibling to handle it all, that could be a cluster and a mess. But where I do like the idea of families working together is that's how families stayed financially strong. They might not have been rich, but families lived together, or they had a little compound, or they were in the same neighborhood. And when you work together as a team, a lot of times you could stay afloat. And so I see that in certain cultures, especially with the Latino population. They'll have, families living near each other. Grandma babysits, aunt might babysit. So, they might pool their resources together. Meals will be like potluck. And they'll do that once a week, and there's ways to then help each other out. Okay, I don't have money for a car. That's okay. We could drive you here. We could drive you here. We could do Uber, and so the more family members you have that are, not toxic and are on the same team. And I love the family ethic that I see with, in the Hispanic populations, because I have people who are Puerto Rican in my family, El Salvadorian. It's a much different way of thinking than I see with a lot of Americans, where family members are strewn all across the United States, And it's, well, I can't help. I got fighting. I'm right now dealing with, taking care of a family member, and the other siblings. One tries to, but everybody has their own issues, and so it always falls on one person, and that could be financially devastating, emotionally devastating, physically just exhausting. And so when I hear that parents are helping their kids, the first thing I think of isn't, entitlement and, silver spooning. The first thing I think of is, well, working together. Letting a child sink or swim might have worked in other, and for me, if I didn't work, I didn't eat. I had to support myself. I did what I had to. I even waited tables in medical school. I had to get through what I had to get through. But part of the reason why I waited tables is because I had to give money to one of my siblings who needed it. And so working together, if I see families are sticking together and there's some value but we do want our kids independent. We do want our kids to be able to be not relying on their aging parents who are already going to be facing financial distress with the way things are as we look at retirement and the cost of living, et cetera. So you want to make sure that your children are trying to be independent. But if you're looking at rent, to spend that kind of money on rent when they don't have to, I don't mind people making financial decisions that won't put their kids in financial rooms. 1-877 Daliah.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-910-7500. That's 800-910-7500. Call now to find out how much your case could be worth.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOCDALI. So one thing RFK Jr. pledged to do is reevaluate what we're doing with fluoride in the water. And he has purported and suggested that fluoride, based on a lot of studies, can be damaging to young kids, and the over fluoride fluoridosis that could happen in some individuals if we continue to let fluoride be in our tap water could be causing harm. The NIH had a study that came out. Actually, it was done during the Biden administration that showed that too much fluoride exposure to young kids is affecting their IQ. And this is one of many studies looking at fluoridosis, too much fluoride. And so one thing RFK Jr. wants to do is go back and remove fluoride from tap water, which was introduced, I believe, back in the 40s because of people's inability to obtain fluoride, their lack of good dental care. And many people have been like, well, no, we can't do that because then we'll have bad teeth all over again. But now we have access to fluoride. Our toothpaste, there's fluoride in toothpaste. We have fluoride in vitamins. So, is that relevant now? Well, Utah, we're being told, is now the first state to ban fluoride from all their public drinking water. The law was signed Thursday by Governor Spencer Cox, will go into effect May 7th for all public drinking water systems. Now, they say, according to Daily Mail, fluoride started to be added to the U.S. water in the 1940s after scientists found that people with higher levels of fluoride had fewer cavities. And they were right. But that's where we would get all our water, from tap water. So it was a great way to introduce fluoride since vitamins and supplements and GNC didn't exist back then. And toothpaste used to be, I think it was zinc oxide. I have some toothpaste from the 1920s. It doesn't have the ingredients because the government back in the 1920s didn't necessarily have labels being mandated. But you would put the powder onto your hand, add some water, make it into a paste, and then use a brush to brush your teeth. And that's how you would clean your teeth until later toothpaste came. So being that cavities were so rampant and poor dental health affected people's ability to eat, kept them disabled, affected also their heart health and other issues, infections. It was groundbreaking and life-changing to be able to add fluoride. But things are different. The other thing, too, is the average person is not drinking public tap water anymore. They're going to bottled water. They're drinking non-tap water. And so some people, they don't even drink water, which isn't good. You should get water in your system. But many people don't drink from the tap. And so why aren't they having cavities? Well, because they're using fluoride toothpaste. So if people not drinking the tap water is not having issues of low fluoride, then, we could probably, safely say there are other avenues for people to get their fluoride rather than forcing it to be in people's tap water. According to the latest CDC, nearly half of Utah residents with public water access drink fluoridated water and half does not. Governor Cox said that between these two groups, you think you would see drastically different outcomes, and we haven't. And that's what I had just said, although he worded it much more eloquently. So Florida became the first state to recommend removing fluoride, but I don't know if that ended up happening. Utah, from what we understand, is the first state now to stop fluoride from being in their tap water. So the pros and the cons. So the fluoride strengthens tooth enamel. Fluoride makes teeth more resistant to acid attacks from bacteria and acid from our food. That is why fluoride is now in our toothpaste. And that's why dentists would give us fluoride treatments. It prevents and reverses early tooth decay. It can lead to fewer cavities. And, but too much fluoride could affect the IQ, neurological development. I know there's been a lot of studies that have been going back and forth. But a study came out of the Biden administration's NIH saying, look, we're noticing too much fluoride can affect their IQ. So if we don't need to expose kids to excessive fluoride, then maybe this, this is a good move. Now, I have never had a patient who has been fluoride deficient. I've never had a patient who has gotten too much fluoride. We do, though, recommend kids do not swallow toothpaste because of the fluoride component in it. A lot of kids will swallow toothpaste. after they brush your teeth. No, you got to spit it out. And I told my kids, don't, you got to spit it out because your teeth just got rid of all the food and the disgusting stuff. You don't want to swallow that. Oh, okay. And then they'll spit it out. Plus, they like to pretend that they missed the sink and they got little brother, right? Or they got the mirror. Okay, don't forget to spit. And then it goes all over. I'm like, come on. And they're giggling. Get your tushy into bed. And then I would have to clean. So it was a game for them. But RFK Jr. had posted in November that fluoride is an industrial waste associated with arthritis, bone fractures, bone cancer, IQ loss, neurodevelopmental disorders, and thyroid disease. So listen, there is some back and forth, but I'm of the mindset we have a much different landscape than we did in the 1940s. And people who don't drink tap water are not being overwhelmed with poor dental. Now, what I am seeing, why are we seeing a huge uptick in dental issues? Because people aren't going to the dentist. I can't tell you how many times people are calling telemedicine for gum infections or tooth pain. And I'm like, well, I could get you started on something, but when are you seeing your dentist? Oh, I don't have a dentist. Well, when was your last cleaning? Before COVID. So you haven't gone to the dentist in 5 years. You haven't done your biannual cleaning. Now, one part of this to blame is we don't have dental insurance. Going to a dentist can be pretty expensive. I went to a dentist in my neighborhood. I took my son. It was a new dentist. And we got out of there for just two of us, just for a cleaning, $690. $690. They said, well, we have to do the x-rays and then you have to have the exam by the doctor and I understand all that. But for two of us, $350 or $345 a pop? Come on. So no wonder people aren't going to the dentist. And you need to go to the dentist because they can identify things early. They can identify early tooth caries or cavities, fix them. Once you wait for the tooth to rot and then affect the nerve, well, now you need a root canal or you need the tooth extracted. And once you have holes and it just worsens. So you want to be able to have a doctor. But the reason why most dentists recommend twice a year, and some of you that have dental insurance, you get 4 times a year cleanings. I love that. And it's not just about the cleaning, it's also the exam. And making sure you aren't developing a cavity. Cavities are bad, bad news. Most of the trouble we get starts from cavities and gingivitis and periodontal disease and big gaps in your gum where food can get in and fester. So fluoride is a big part of it, but we also have to make sure people can go to the dentist. I don't understand why Obamacare didn't include dentistry. So that's, I think, something we need RFK Jr. to work on as well. 1-877 Dr. Daliah.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.